Britain's the article is from CBC News, is where I got it anyway, and it's titled "Female Genital Mutilation: A Huge Problem in UK." An estimated 66,000 girls and women are affected with no prosecutions. Britain's reputation for turning a blind eye on the illegal practice of female genital mutilation may be about to change after British doctors, nurses, and midwives decided to take a stand and demand it be treated as child abuse. Earlier this morning, leading British medical groups delivered an extensive report to Parliament recommending aggressive steps to eradicate the practice, which is still being carried out on young girls from certain African, Middle Eastern, and Asian cultures. The report revealed tens of thousands of cases of FGM in Britain, as many as 66,000 by some estimates. And while the practice was outlawed in 1985 and carries a maximum penalty of 14 years imprisonment, the country has never seen a single prosecution. It's a huge problem in Britain, says Dr. Deborah Hodes, a London community pediatrician and chair of child protection with the Royal College of Pediatrics, outlining that more than 24,000 girls are at risk of FGM, and more than 66,000 women are living with the consequences. Hodes, or Hodis, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, regularly gets referrals for young girls who underwent cutting, a common term for the practice in the UK, or who are at high risk of being cut. Britain's medical community now wants all frontline health professionals to be better trained in detecting FGM and responding to it, and to report female patients who have had their sexual organs mutilated to police and other services. FGM, sometimes called female circumcision, involves removing all or part of the clitoris as well as often the labia, which are the lips that surround the vagina, to make young girls more virginal and therefore attractive to future mates. An estimated, that's funny they don't say husbands.
Yeah.
As if a woman would ever, expect another woman to, whatever. An estimated 140 million girls and women are living with the consequences of the practice, according to the World Health Organization, and in countries like Britain, it's often done on young girls who are sent back to their ancestral homelands to have the procedure done. Layla Hussein, a British woman, was once one of these girls. She was taken away to Somalia to be cut while she was 7. She's now campaigning to end the practice. During her own pregnancy, she recalls, "I was shaking, having panic attacks. My body remembered the trauma. That's when I decided there was no way my daughter was going through that. But I needed the right information to defend my decision to my community." In Britain, anti-FGM campaigners are saying that an overzealous cultural sensitivity has led to authorities being slow to react on the FGM front, with some even questioning whether FGM is actually a British problem. "It's not so much that I've encountered resistance, but there's a lot of silence," says Hussein. "For me, when you're silent, you're consenting." In contrast, neighboring France has adopted a much less tolerant approach to tackling FGM. Its systematic examination of young girls has led to some 100 prosecutions. I think England is very tolerant because they put cultural relativism first, says Isabelle Gillette-Fay, a French sociologist. So if in your country of origin you cut your girl, then it's possible in England as well. Gillette-Fay suspects many French girls are sent to easier Britain to have the procedure done. It's easier to take the Eurostar to go to London to a private clinic and have someone cut the girl. It's just easier. It's less money than to go to another country, she says. For her part, Hussein likes France's attitude towards FGM, but allows that an approach like that of the Netherlands might be more effective. What the Netherlands have done really well, she says, is implement that work in sexual education classes. It's compulsory. Man, it's really hard to read. Frontline staff working with women and children. Every new nurse, every new doctor, every new teacher has to be trained in FGM. In Britain, it's almost finished. In Britain, the Ministry of Education has so far refused to make FGM training mandatory for teachers, though in a statement it said that schools can choose to teach about FGM as part of their curriculum. That is not enough for some. We're talking about girls who are British citizens, and this is against their right to be safe, says Dr. Hodes. So I don't really think it's a debate. As a result of the report, Parliament's Home Affairs Committee is considering an inquiry into why there hasn't been a prosecution yet in Britain. The Crown Prosecution Service is reportedly looking into a handful of cases that it may bring to trial. To date, there are not definitive studies on the number of girls at risk of FGM in Canada, where I live, but immigration patterns and human rights groups in Canada indicate that the figures could be substantial. The biggest Somali community in the diaspora is in North America. That's a big alarm for me, says Hussein. A lot of Canadian women contact us. They suffer in silence. They don't know where to go. I think that this is a clear case of us needing to set very clear and very firm limits. Laws on, definitely federal laws on where multiculturalism has to stop. Honor killings, genital mutilation, this is not a complicated issue. There's an argument to be made for moral relativism, but there's not an argument to be made under the rights that you have in the country that you live in to be safe from other people who live in your country. There's not so much you can do when you go back to a different country. But in the country that you live in, whether it's the United States or Britain or Canada, you need to be protected, no matter even if your parents are the ones who want to hurt you. No matter if your community and it turns into a religious issue or a battle of some kind, it doesn't matter. The laws are there to protect people from harm, protect them from each other, protect them from people who would harm them, even if they think it's for the good. And, this absolutely needs to be done in Britain. That's all I have.
No, I totally agree with you, Matthew. And I'm just disgusted by the article. I read it today, and I was just totally disgusted. It's just what it boils down to is humanity has been dealing with this type of inhumane, barbaric tradition or traditions, depending on what religion you look at, for thousands of years. You can go back to the Holy Bible with David and the 200 foreskins. Genital mutilation is mutilation. It's just sick. I mean, I would just really love to put myself with God and talk to their God. If I could have a one-on-one and ask them, why the fuck do you like the genitalia so much? And what's your obsession with it? Why would you? I just don't understand it. It's sick. It's disgusting. And I want to go a little further with this, with the stats. Like when we look at the stats when it comes to Muslims in the UK, it's growing big time. You know what I mean? And I believe, and I don't want to be discriminative here, okay? People need to understand that I hate religion, but I don't hate the person that believes in it. It's either they were indoctrinated at a very early age or they were just in a lower life. But you got to remember, Islam is taking off big time, okay? Now, in 2001, there was 1.5 million Muslims in the UK, and in 2011, it's 2.7, which is 5% over there now, okay? It's starting to take off fairly quick. Okay, in 2001, it was reported that the United Kingdom had around 100,000 converts to Islam, 40,000 more than in 2001. 66% of them were women. There were an estimate 5,200 conversions in 2011. Islam is the fastest growing religion in the UK between 2001 and 2009. The Muslim population increased almost 10 times faster than the non-Muslim population. And you guys need to understand, or at least I should say we understand that they claim that this is Islam. Islam is it's a religion of peace. My ass. It's just fucking ridiculous how when you talk to a Muslim, when you're outside their own little group, when you're outside their own religion, they have such a different perspective. They lie to you about what their scripture or what the Quran says. It's just amazing. But when you're in their circle, when you adhere to the Quran, oh yeah, it's about this, it's about that, and they all agree on this wickedness. At least some of them or most of them do. And you got to look at that. They're totally different, two different people. When it comes to people in their clique and people outside their clique or outside their religion or their faith, and that's what really pisses me off. You know what I mean? So I need to emphasize that I really hate religion. I don't really hate the person that believes in it. People are going to disagree with me on that, but I'm like, that's all I really have right now. So Ned?
Well, the thing that I think we also need to make sure we understand is that this is not confined to the UK at all. I
Correct. Yeah.
mean, it's worldwide. In fact, if you look at the numbers worldwide, about 140 million girls worldwide today are living with this. That's 140 million people that have gone through this horrific torture, and most of them get it somewhere between when they're a baby and 15 years old. The vast majority is about 10 years old that this is happening. So unlike male circumcision, it's not something they forget. It's something that is a real world event, and probably one of the most, I would think, memorable events in their life. And I think what's telling is how hard it is to get rid of it. I mean, the UN alone has been fighting this for almost over 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah.
The first resolution came from the WHO, the World Health Organization, and that was in '97. Since then, 2008, they put together a coalition with 9 other countries trying to eliminate it. Put some legislation, well, as much as the UN can put legislation. 2010, they decided they're gonna publish a global strategy, and then again in 2012, and that's when it finally did get accepted. The resolution got accepted by the UN. So even though it's something that we don't really hear about over here, and for the most part, it doesn't seem like it's that big a deal. But when you're talking of 140 million girls that have to deal with this, and it's been on the books for 16 plus years now, it needs to be brought to the forefront. I mean, it just, I have a daughter, and it's just horrific to think that, and she's about that age, about 10, that there are people with that kind of child that willingly walk them into these places and literally mutilate them. And I don't even want to get into it because I'll get really mad, and plus it really bothers me to even think about it. So I say we move on unless anybody else has anything.
No, I'm good, man, and I agree with both you guys. It's just something, and I need to emphasize that we're not just saying the Islamic faith or the Muslims. We're saying all freaking religions that have to deal with genital mutilation. It's wrong, okay? I wish there could be some kind of world law, and that'd be one of them. It's just sad. These kids can't make the decisions for themselves. It's sad. And you got these girls going through this shit right now. It's sad, and not only it dulls the sexual pleasure, but come on, man, it's just disgusting, man. It's sad.
And one other thing, there's absolutely nothing that I was able to find in any of the literature whatsoever that said it was beneficial in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing that good comes of this, other than, like you said, pleasing the man, because that's what's important. So when we look at a girl, oh my God, it looks a little bit better to us.
I know, exactly. All
right. I'd like to make a small comment based on what you guys have been saying, that I find it very interesting that Jewish genital mutilation, circumcision, is done when the male is a baby.
Correct.
And Islamic mutilation is done when they're fully aware at age 10 instead of when they're a baby.
That's a great point.
Why do you think that is?
I really don't know. I did not research that. I have no idea. Do you know, Matthew, or no? Because I don't.
I can guess, but it would just be my conjecture. I don't know.
Right? I don't know.
Other than it being the doctrine of the religion, I can speculate at the reasons behind that. But
I'm not saying
that's just the point I wanted
to
to make.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something we should look into. Yeah, absolutely.